Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to Fort Lee High School and East Gymnasium for this non-conference showdown. Rutherford in the blue and gray taking on Fort Lee here in the white, black, and orange. Dan Long, so glad that he could join us here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. Rutherford 18-5 on the season. Going to be a great test here for Fort Lee, 14-10, as both teams getting closer and closer to playoff time. Bella Plout ranging down low as the libero to make that stop. These two sides met last September. Rutherford came away with a 2-0 win at home. Great start and a long volley to begin off this first set. In front of the net, block there as Watanabe was trying to range up high for the Bridgemen. Mistiming the jump that time was Margaret O, and that long marathon point will go over to Rutherford. Rutherford coming in, having won 2 in a row. They won in 2 sets against Eastern Christian in their last match on October 23rd. Fort Lee coming in off a 3-0 victory over New Milford. And save here by Rutherford, and the Bulldogs just can't get enough on that last third hit. So it's going to be 1-1 your score here in the opening set. Bella Plout will now serve. One of the senior captains. Accomplished a milestone earlier this season, as seen here on YouTube. Became the first in program history to reach 1,000 digs. Song setting it up for Watanabe. And Watanabe will hit that one just a little too long as she was trying to aim for the back left corner. As that'll go out of play for a point for Rutherford. Bulldogs, perfect 13-0 in the NJIC Meadowlands division. They've already clinched a league title this season. Fort Lee, league champs of their own. Popped up. That one deflects off of the side of Fort Lee last, so the kill goes for Rutherford on the near wing side. A 2-0 spurt here by the Bulldogs have Rutherford up 3-1 in the opening set. Mackenzie Vellis, the libero, it was Tessa Davidson, number 18, the libero, was serving to start this one off here for Rutherford. Big spike attempt, dug out there by Plout. Gomez, too hot to handle. Rutherford trying to track it down, and they do. Great recovery there by Rutherford. Off to the near side, Song with the cross-court winner. Samantha Song, the sophomore, 31 kills on the season. Coming off a performance in their last match against New Milford on the 25th, Song really filled up the stat sheet. 12 assists, 8 digs, 4 kills. She will serve now with Rutherford leading 3-2. Song setting up Watanabe. And she deposits it this time in play in the back left corner. The accuracy betrayed her the first time around. But this time she lined it up perfectly, and it's back-to-back points secured by Fort Lee, and the Bridgemen now lead or tie it up at 3-3. With the service here still for Song. Deflected, saved after it there by Fort Lee. Gomez, soft touch, good decision. Rutherford were expecting the hammer that time, and that time took a little something off of it was Lorelei Gomez, the junior. 62 kills on the season, leads Fort Lee in that category. 3 in a row for the Bridgemen. They lead now 4-3. Opening set of this matchup, Big North versus NJIC, and there's a point at the net for Rutherford. Not only is this a great test just before the start of the state playoffs, but also this is a big chance for power points to be procured here before seeding commences. Rutherford coming into this match ranking 5th in North 2 Group 1. Gomez almost brought that one down. Again, a great save by Rutherford this time. Watanabe trying to get it to that left side. Good dig on the back line by Rutherford. And that time, good placement again. This time more center rather than far left. As Fort Lee doing a good job of winning possession and winning points in the front of the net. Fort Lee comes into this one ranking 11th overall in power points in North 1 Group 3. So they would not be in a position to be here at home for the start of the postseason. And that shot is a good one in the back line again. Fort Lee doing a great job of not only bringing the thunder with the hard-hit balls, but also the placement. That time it was Olivia Kim, number 2, the senior, finishing it off. Fort Lee grows their largest lead of this opening set to 6-4. Blocked in front of the net. Good deflection initially by Kim. Sarah Wong was diving to try to save that one, but then Fort Lee couldn't subsequently get it over in time. Point over for Rutherford. Bulldogs trail 6-5. Last season, Rutherford went 24-8 overall. Won the 2024 Bergen Invitational Tournament and then eventually lost in the sectional semifinals to Verona. Fort Lee just getting it over. Good hustle on the play. Plout setting it up. Song setting it over to Gomez. Gomez has that ricochet out the front of the net. And that time, because Watanabe's pass was a little errant, Gomez could not shift into getting that one up and over in time. 6-6 the score. Back-to-back points procured by Rutherford. And that is a service ace for Rutherford. So the Bulldogs now with 3 in a row have taken a 7-6 advantage here at the beginning of this opening set. Each team will have one regular season match remaining after this one. Rutherford will travel to Waldwick, while Fort Lee will be here at home tomorrow against Hackensack. And Gomez, what a ferocious spike there, as that caromed off a Rutherford defender. No chance of being returned that time. 7-7 your score. Lorelei Gomez playing some outstanding volleyball here in the beginning stages of the opening set. Rutherford looking for the drop shot. Oh, got to it in time. Now Rutherford digging down low. That was Mackenzie Vellis. Vellis, the outstanding senior, approaching 1,000 career kills. And that time, perfect placement again there for Fort Lee right in front of the libero, Tessa Davidson. 8-7 lead for Fort Lee. Service here by Luna Sugahara, the senior. On the outside, there's O. Quick tip attempt, but double touch. So it's going to be a violation, and the point goes back over to Fort Lee after Kate Metzger, number 22, the senior, was trying to quickly get a touch on it in front of the net. Low lining serve is a good one, and Rutherford handcuffed to the front of the net. Fort Lee going on a bit of a run here, courtesy of Luna Sugahara's service. Senior had 4 digs in the last match against New Milford. Rutherford able to track it down to the near side, and perfect execution that time by the Bulldogs. Raced after it to the near side, had a nice little drop shot that had the front line scurrying a bit there for Coach John Ziemba's side. Fort Lee, league champions of their own, winning their 5th league title in the last 6 seasons. And that one is ricocheted out of bounds. Last touch off of Rutherford. 11-8 lead for Fort Lee here in set number 1. Sarah Wong served that one into the net for a service error. Point, and the serve goes back over to Rutherford. Bulldogs serving here, down by 2, down by 1 with a quick finish in front of the net. Juliet Singh, number 2, the senior for Rutherford. And now, is there going to be a conference? It looked like initially it was going to be a point for Rutherford, but then the celebration started to begin for the Fort Lee sideline, and so they will say that is a point for Rutherford. So Coach Diemba is going to instruct his captain to go over because coaches cannot go directly to the official on the ladder to talk things over. You have to have your captain and a player go and discuss matters. Initially, it was called a point for Rutherford. Then the other official designated it as a point for Fort Lee because they said that the player was leaning over or contacted the net. But then after further discussion, it went back to the original call. So it's a 1-point match, 1-point lead here for Fort Lee. Good block in front of the net there by Rutherford. A diving effort there by the Bulldogs in front. And they score the point to tie it up at 11-11. Kate Finan, number 11, the senior, was the one who jammed in front of the net. So a bit of a spurt here by the visitors to tie it up at 11, and here that run continues. A thunderous spike finish, and that's going to elicit a timeout by Coach Diemba after Juliet Singh, the senior, finished off the kill in style, and Rutherford has taken a 12-11 lead. We'd like to thank our proud Athletic Booster Club sponsors of 2025-26, the Fort Lee PBA, Kafaso's Fairway Market, the Finest Construction, Fort Lee Soccer Club, Russin and Daru Electric, Bridgman Basketball Camp, the Fort Lee VFW, Visions Federal Credit Union, It's Greek to Me, Connect One Bank, the Bergen Black Sox, Senator Builders, UCS Strength and Speed, the Collective Salon, and the Fort Lee Education Association, all proud sponsors of our broadcast here throughout this 2025-26 school year. As we're winding down our broadcast coverage of the fall, and we'll be back here in East Gymnasium throughout the course of the winter sports season with the basketball teams or the wrestling teams in action. Looking forward to all that fun as we've enjoyed ourselves already here. Gone in the blink of an eye, the fall season, as we're rounding the corner through the end of October. Service error into the net by Rutherford, gifts the point and the serve back over to Fort Lee. 12-12 here in the contentious opening set. Song gets it. Blocked to the net again. Rutherford, the much taller side than the Bridgman, but Fort Lee has brought their accuracy here in this opening set. Sometimes that has not been the case this season for Fort Lee. They've gotten off to some slower starts in some of these matches, even here at home. That's a service error into the net. 13-13. As Rutherford will serve. Watanabe setting up O. O trying to go diagonally. And that's clearly a violation against Rutherford. That was pretty much the equivalent of hanging on a Nerf basket. And it was big smiles from Coach Diemba as well as everybody even on Rutherford. That was clearly a violation. Slam dunk finish, and Bella Ploud follows it up with a service ace. Could not be returned. Back-to-back points here by Fort Lee, and The Bridgman have retaken a 2-point advantage at 15-13. Fort Lee is led by as many as 3 here in set number 1. Big dig there. Ranging down low. Again, some serious heat on the end of that shot. But again, Fort Lee's defense has been impressive here in the opening set. Ties the largest lead of the opening set now for Fort Lee at 3. 16-13 Bridgman. Plout, good service. And there's an unreturnable finish there. As Rutherford, again, when they get time and room, they've got some hammers in their lineup here. A very tall and impressive lineup, and Rutherford able to finish that one off. Mackenzie Vellis, again, moving closer and closer to 1,000 career kills. She got one there. Blocks that one out of bounds. She was looking for another one. Vellis came into this match 986 kills. She recently produced 13 kills, 5 digs, and 3 aces in their win against Eastern Christian on October 23rd. One of the stars on this team for Rutherford. Fort Lee leads by 3. Gomez has that ricochet a couple times. It pinballs its way up and over the lip of the net. Fort Lee again trying to range close. Gomez mistimed the jump that time. She saw a pair of defenders flocking over to her as blockers, and I think it kind of threw off her groove. Point for Rutherford. 17-15 the lead for Fort Lee in set number 1. Fort Lee won in the last meeting here at East Gymnasium between these two schools in 3 sets in 2023. Last year, Rutherford won in 2 sets at Rutherford on September 17th. Rutherford has committed a couple of service errors that have been rather costly for them when they've been trying to claw their way back. And that's going to be a service ace. Rutherford thought it was going to be going out of bounds, but Anela Watanabe's serve, a slow one, but perfectly placed, found its way on that far side. Again, accuracy, the name of the game here for Fort Lee today. They have been pinpoint of where they are depositing these shots, and they take a 19-15 lead here in the first set. We'll take a timeout on the floor as you're watching all the action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. (19-15) the lead here for Fort Lee as they serve, trying to take set number 1 and move 1 set closer to possibly procuring their 15th win of the season. Taking on a very talented Rutherford side from the NJIC. Kim had that one deflect off the fingertips in front of the net. Plout digs it out. Wong. Oh, perfect there. She sliced it, and you could see the movement by Sarah Wong. The way that that came off of her hand, it almost was like a curveball. That it just had no chance for Rutherford to square it up cleanly. 20-15 lead now for Fort Lee, 5 points away from taking set 1. Watanabe still serving. Gomez. Here's Wong again. Popped skyward this time by Rutherford. And that time, 2 players in the back line nearly collided, and they got a piece of it as it was potentially going to go out wide. So a point for Rutherford that time has the Bulldogs back to within 4 at 20-16. Here is Mackenzie Vellis, 154 service points on the season. You can see the spin on her serve. And Gomez, there you go again. This might be the best performance we've seen from Lorelei Gomez. Gomez joined the Fort Lee program after transferring from IHA. He's had the growing pains at points earlier this season, but it's paying off now. You could see the velocity mixed with the accuracy. 21-16. Good drop shot. Rutherford a couple times has caught the Fort Lee front line almost a little too in tight. And the back line anticipating those points in the back, and that vacated area just juicy for the Bulldogs. 21-17, Fort Lee in front by 4. Rutherford with the serve. First to 25, have to win by at least 2 with this rally scoring. And that time going too long. All of the Fort Lee players trying to say that was deflected, and they confer with the other official on the floor, and he does agree with the Fort Lee players. There was a bit of a deflection, so his last touch out of bounds off of Rutherford, so the point goes over to Fort Lee instead of Rutherford. And it's going to be a 22-17 advantage. Again, the Bridgman 3 points away from capturing set number 1. Another drop shot. Fort Lee's Wong was trying to get to it, but a whistle sounded. And it looked like it was a double touch. Great effort there by Sarah Wong, though, to dive down with one hand and try to get her hand underneath the ball and pop it skyward. 22-18. Service back to Rutherford. Bulldogs need to go on a run here. And that time the shot by Kim was a little too strong. That goes out in the back right corner. There's the break that Rutherford needed. The lead is trimmed down to 3, 22-19. Has that one popped upwards by Davidson. And Watanabe unable to track it down. Rutherford going on a run. Here come the Bulldogs back to within 2 now at 22-20. They've trailed by as many as 5. They're starting to hunker down here, knowing that this is money time when it comes to the late stages of the first set. Timeout on the floor as Fort Lee tries to diagnose what needs to be done here to try to get themselves the opening set. Rutherford led early in this opening set. Fort Lee kind of took control in the middle stages and widened the gap by 5, but Rutherford's got on a nice run here. And again, it's going to be a misplay in the back line by Fort Lee. There's a service ace, and Rutherford has cut that 5-point deficit down to only 1, 22-21. Fort Lee lays off that one as it was being floated, and again, I think it was kind of like the previous time. Fort Lee was caught in between whether or not to go for it or feel like that was going to be going too long. It's going to be another timeout. 23-21 lead for Fort Lee. Service over to the Bridgman as they're 2 points away from capturing the opening set. Again, Fort Lee will finish their regular season schedule tomorrow here at home against the Hackensack Comets. Rutherford will finish off their regular season campaign on the road against NJIC rival Waldwick, who is in second place in the Meadowlands Division. If Rutherford is victorious over Waldwick, who they beat back on September 25th in 2 sets, they will finish off a undefeated regular season. They're 13-0 in regular season play in the NJIC's Meadowlands division. Fort Lee finished 7-1 in the Big North American division this year, with their only loss coming against arch rival Cliffside Park. The last time they met in 3 sets on October 21st. Rutherford ranging low to save this one. They'll drop it off in front. Fort Lee misplayed it, but not victimized just yet. Here's Song having that one deflect off the side. Diving save by Davidson. Oh, diving play again by the libero of Rutherford. Fort Lee getting low and getting dirty on the floor. And that time, Rutherford eventually ends that long volley with the finish on the far side. Juliet Singh is so impressive. Once number 2 sets herself and gets a full head of steam in front of her, she's able to finish off the point. 23-22, Fort Lee in front. Rutherford really hurting Fort Lee the last couple of times on their own serve. And that one is dropped off just inside that near side, near our broadcast vantage point here inside East Gymnasium. That was the accurate call. We've been lauding the praise, rightfully so, on the placement and the accuracy of Fort Lee, but since falling behind by 5, Rutherford has upped their game. They've now come all the way back to tie it up at 23. Now the Bulldogs a chance here to possibly take the lead. Drop shot in front. Mistimed jump that time by Rutherford, and it's set point here for Fort Lee. 24-23, service going over to the Bridgemen. Trying to find their way to a hard-nosed first set. Bella Plout will do the honors. Plout serves, fellow libero Davidson ranging down low to save it. Rutherford will pop it over. Here's the opportunity for Fort Lee. Gomez mistimed the jump into the top of the net. 24-24, there was the door, it was open. Now, again, serve goes back over to Rutherford in a tie score. Wong setting it up to the near side. And Song hit that into the antenna. And now that mistake gives Rutherford the chance here. They are at set point. 25-24 Bulldogs. Fort Lee's got to hunker down here. Rutherford rallying to the ball. Here's the opportunity. And that shot, did it go in? It did on the far side right in front of Coach Ziemba. And Rutherford rallies to come back and take first set 26-24. Resilient effort by the visitors. Again, a couple of times. Fort Lee was up by 5 in the first set. They just could not have the finishing touch. Even when they had set point at one point, and they were up 24-23. They had their opportunity. They just could not finish off Rutherford. And Rutherford kept that door open, and eventually the Bulldogs passed their way through. So a 1-0 lead here for Rutherford, as we'll have a timeout before we get started for set number 2. And again, we thank all of our proud sponsors on your screen for helping us bring you the sights and sounds of Fort Lee Bridgeman Athletics. So a resilient come-from-behind victory for Rutherford in set number 1, 26-24. Will set us up now for the start of set number 2. Rutherford could win the overall match just by claiming set number 2 here, as they are looking to produce their 19th win of the season. Wortley had the opportunity. A shot that was sent into the net rather than over when they were at set point proved to be their undoing. Rutherford took a full advantage of those opportunities that they produced. They cleaned up their game. They had a lot of service errors at the beginning of set number 1. But once they fell behind by 5, they got laser focused. And Rutherford showing why they are a very dangerous team in Group 2. And again, and like I said, when you have someone the talent of Juliet Singh, this Rutherford side is no joke. And correction, they're Group 1. They're just North 2 Group 1. Coming in with 5th in power points in that section. So the point goes over and the violation to Fort Lee, their first point of set number 2. Rutherford in the power points trail the NJIC's Sea Caucus Patriots, number 1 seed. Verona, number 2. Bogota, 3. McNair, number 4. A little punch shot there by Sarah Wong down the near side. At times, Singh's spike attempts caroms over the top lip of the net. And Gomez tried to kind of backhand, and it went wide of the mark. Goes out for a point for Rutherford. Bulldogs lead 2-1. Fort Lee would be, if the play had started today, the number 11 seed in North 1 Group 3. Watanabe has that one trickle off the hands of Mia George, number 21, but Rutherford still hustles and tracks it down. Gomez, that time. Again, the combo of power and accuracy. Gomez produces the points, ties it up at 2-2. Number 1 in North 1 Group 3, Northern Highlands. Number 2, Ramapo. And number 3 seed would be Randolph. Service ace that time by Watanabe. Fort Lee potentially, if the playoffs started today, as the 11 seed would have to travel to number 6 seed Mount Olive for a first round state playoff match. And there's a no-doubter finish. What a spike in the back left quarter for Rutherford. I mean, we have seen some great teams come here to East Gymnasium over the last couple of seasons where we've had the luxury, the honor of broadcasting sights and sounds of Fort Lee Volleyball. This team is very talented for Rutherford, and they are just built like a machine in terms of so much height, length, and velocity on their spikes. I don't know if there's somebody, we've seen Ramsey being a sensational opponent earlier this season. This Rutherford side's pretty special. 4-3 lead here for Fort Lee. And there's another example of Song was able to get to it and range down low, but there was so much velocity and spin coming off of that hit that there was no way that she could then direct it back into the fair territory. Watanabe hit that deflected into part of the ceiling and still in play. Rutherford still looking for that point to take back the lead, and they get it. Courtesy of who else? Mackenzie Vellis. 5-4 lead for the Bulldogs here in set number 2. Sonia Yurchenko coming back here for Fort Lee, the senior. Richmond lay off that service that went a little too long. 5-5 your score. Sarah Wong serving for Fort Lee. Out of bounds for Rutherford. Back-to-back points produced here by the Bridgemen. They retake the lead at 6-5 as Coach Ziemba urging his senior leader, Sarah Wong, to get it going. Plout, Wong, Song. Dug out of the back line there by Velis. Wong with the dump shot. Wong again, getting down low. Yurchenko, kind of flat-footed, but it still worked. Kind of ranged backwards, didn't jump at all, and maybe that kind of confused Rutherford a little bit of how it came off her hand. That eventually ended as the point. 7-5 lead here for Fort Lee in set 2. Handcuffed that time. Service ace for Sarah Wong. Had 10 aces on the season coming into today's action. Fort Lee certainly missed her at points early on in the season when she was out for a couple of matches with an injury. Gets a little luck on her side that time as it hits off the top lip of the net and then trickles over for the ace. Back-to-back aces here for Wong. One of the best players in recent history in this program for Coach Ziemba. It's been a mainstay in the lineup since her freshman year. Long setting up Yurchenko, blocked at the front of the net. Here's Yurchenko again. Gets it up and over the two-player wall. Good touch there on the drop shot by Rutherford. Mia George with a nice touch. 9-6 advantage here for Fort Lee. Rutherford rallied from behind to win the first set, 26-24. Fort Lee needs to win this set to force a third and final one here at East Gymnasium today. And that time, a block in front. Kim couldn't really see. She tried to do a one-handed approach. And lurking on the other side of the net, Rutherford there to make the stop and the block. And Bulldogs back to within 2 at 9-7. Blount tracked it down. Wong got it over. And that is going to be ruled a deflection off of Fort Lee, even though they were saying it was going to be going out of bounds. The official up top was saying that that was deflected off of a Fort Lee player. So I think they're trying to make a correction here. Player who's in charge of the flag on the outside was saying out of bounds. Trying to sort out now what this point's going to be. Is it going to be a point for Rutherford to make this 9-8? So it is 9-8, point for Rutherford. Now they take the point off the board. They're just going to be redoing the point. And that time, it all ends up with the point for Fort Lee. So after all of that contention and the redo, it works out. In basketball, they say at that juncture, ball don't lie. Well, that's the case there. Maybe it should have been initially a point for Fort Lee. Nonetheless, it eventually came its way. Sugahara will serve with the Bridgemen leading by 3. Low lining serve. And Luna Sugahara extends the Bridgemen lead to 4. But again, this is familiar territory. Fort Lee was in control in that opening set and let it get away. They have to keep their foot on the pedal here. Another point and a violation, double touch against Rutherford. Now it's a 12-7 margin in favor of Fort Lee. Wong, Song, Watanabe. Deflected as George tried to tip it out to her teammate. Couldn't control it just in time, and Fort Lee going on a run here with Luna Sugihara. 13-7 lead, largest lead of this entire match right now here in the second set for Fort Lee. What a serve there, another ace. And that will elicit a Rutherford timeout. 14-7. Fort Lee has doubled up the Bulldogs here in the middle of set number 2 as you're watching the action exclusively here, brought to you by the Fort Lee Athletic Department. (14-7) lead now here for Fort Lee out of the timeout. Sugihara trying to continue the role that she's been on as a server. Yurchenko. Fade away there by Watanabe. Diving effort by Velis. Deflected in front. Yurchenko tracks it down. Popped it skyward. Plout, Wong pushing it over. Nice play there by Sugihara. So it's going to be eventually a point. Looks like for Rutherford. Might have been a case of one of the players crossed over the midcourt stripe on that last attempt at the front of the net for Fort Lee. So that's why the point went over to Rutherford. Sonia Yurchenko getting it to the back line as Velas tracks it down. Song splits that double team in front, and Rutherford can't track it down after the carom in the back line. 15-8 lead for Fort Lee, 10 points away from winning set number 2 and forcing a third and final decisive set. Rutherford rallies again to win this second set. They'll win the match. Gomez had a deflect and spin in the top of the net. That shot too long by Rutherford, so the mistakes that the Bulldogs weren't making late in the first set, they're making here in the middle of set number 2. And Fort Lee has really started to expand upon this lead. Doubling up Rutherford, 16-8. That one deflected. Couldn't be cleanly deflected by Fort Lee. Skims off of their hand, out of bounds, point for Rutherford. 16-9. Good discipline there by Fort Lee of not chasing. 17-9. Samantha Song. Diving effort there by Janina Barna, number 12, to save it for Rutherford. Fort Lee unable to track it down. Good hustle on the play, though, by Sarah Wong, sliding on the near court side. 7-point lead for the Bridgemen. Gomez kind of ranged over, and I'm going to say that she hit it when it was out of bounds. think that was the case. Gomez was already in a weird angle, didn't have the good footing there. So it goes out of bounds, back-to-back points here for Rutherford. They know time is of the essence. They started to go on a run a bit when Tessa Davidson was serving. She's doing it right now. Blount will just get it over for Fort Lee. Now Rutherford with a chance here to score. And they finish it off. Who else? Mackenzie Vellis, the senior. Finishes with the kill, and here's another patented run by Rutherford, and I think Coach Ziemba of Fort Lee feels it coming. So he will take a timeout. That's a 3-0 run here by Rutherford. 17-12 lead for Fort Lee in the second set, but again, this is where his bridgemen have to learn how to finish it off. They can't just grow a big lead and then try to slink their way to the finish line. And as again, we thank all of our proud supporting sponsors of our Fort Lee Bridgman Athletics. We're bringing you the sights and sounds of the Fort Lee boys and girls soccer seasons, as well as this girls volleyball campaign here in the fall. Dan Long, so glad that he could join me. Here from East Gymnasium and Fort Lee High School. Tipped out in front by a host of different defenders. Wong setting it up. In front, Watanabe. Quick turnaround shot. Blocked in the back line. Plout somehow keeps that off the floor. Gomez has that deflect. Vellis almost racing into the stands. Great end-to-end action here. Gomez. And that one goes a little too long. And Rutherford wins another big point. Rutherford trying to orchestrate again and engineer another big comeback. That time, that will help matters for Fort Lee to stop that run, stop the momentum shift of sorts. As Watanabe finished it off, and now she'll get the honors of also serving. 5-point lead for Fort Lee at 18-13. And Fort Lee trails 1-0. A win here would force a third and final set. Good block there by Sarah Wong at the net. Deflection. Could not be controlled. And again, if you're Fort Lee, you want to stay away from number 10 in gray. Because when she hits it, it's not returnable. 18-14 lead for Fort Lee. Service back over to Rutherford. Ricochets on the top of the ceiling. Fort Lee gets it off the carom. Good dig there in the back line by Song. Samantha Song keeping it alive. Now is trying to set up Gomez. Gomez hit that one again. It got returned right back at her. And a point for Rutherford at 18-15. Kim. Davison got to that one. Fort Lee scrambling. Just get it over. Davison setting it up. Trying to find Vellis. And Vellis finds again in front of the back line. It is just something about Rutherford here today that when they feel like they are down and out, they have hunkered down. They have willed themselves back in that first set that they came from behind to win 26-24. And again, at one point, they were trailing by 8 here. Back to within 2. They just get laser focused after playing a little loose in the beginning of these sets. Kim. Wong setting up. Here's Kim again. A little more flat-footed, and it actually worked. She was able to slice it a little bit better just over the top of the net and score the winner at 19-16. And Fort Lee start to get hot again with their service game. That's what really helped them distance themselves from Rutherford in the middle of the second set. Long setting up, again, flat-footed Kim backpedaling. That one is sent backwards and over the net by Sydney Kim. That time Watanabe tracking it down. And Fort Lee score on this. This would be huge in the course of a swing in this match. Drop shot attempt. Song setting up Kim. Kim, a little flat-footed, and that time it did not help her. Hasn't been able to get the elevation underneath her jumps. Couple times it helped her out, but that time it didn't. You're playing the law of averages when you're not going to be able to jump. And with an imposing tall and long front line in front of you, usually it's not going to help. That time Rutherford serves it long. Fort Lee with a point and the serve. Now they're 5 points away. Can Fort Lee finish here and send us to a third set? Feels like a state playoff match, even though these two are in different groups. Kim in front. That time, Kim got her jump. And with it came that hammer of a finish that was deflected off of Rutherford in the back line. Fort Lee was in a similar position here in the first set. 21-17 lead here in set number 2, and it pinballs off of a couple of Rutherford players. A service ace there for number 5, Sarah Wong. And Fort Lee with their 5-point lead at 22-17, 3 points away from forcing a third set. (22-17) lead here for Fort Lee as Sarah Huang, one of the leaders for this Bridgman side, getting set to serve again. She's had a couple of aces in this second set. Mia George got to it first. Here's George again with the drop shot. Yurchenko, good anticipation on that far wing. Huang setting up Song. Kim. And Kim has recaptured her form. After a couple of times in a row, she was flat-footed. Olivia Kim, the senior, 51 kills on the season. Back-to-back finishes, 23-17, Fort Lee in front. There's another ace, and we're at set point here for set number 2. Fort Lee was at set point in the first set when it was 24-23, they couldn't finish them off. Rutherford has to be flawless from the rest of this match, and they won't as Olivia Kim gets it done. 25-17. Fort Lee wins in set number 2. They held control there for the majority of the set, and that will force a third and final decisive set to decide who will win the showdown between Rutherford of the NJIC and Fort Lee of the Big North Conference. Stick around as we'll be right back for the start of set number 3 as you're watching Fort Lee Volleyball here on the Fort Lee YouTube channel. To a third set we go here at East Gymnasium. Dan Long, so glad that he could join us here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. One of the final regular season home matches of the year for Fort Lee. 14-10 on the year, taking on a great challenger in Rutherford, 18-5 on the season. Both these teams, league champions in their respective leagues this season, trying to get battle-hardened for a postseason run. Rutherford in the blue and gray and Fort Lee in the white, black, and orange. Perfect colors for this time of the year. As that one is deflected underneath the nets, so it's going to be a point for Rutherford to start off set number 3. Fort Lee has had large leads in both of the opening sets. If you were just joining us, Fort Lee was at set point in the first set, but squandered that opportunity. Rutherford took advantage, went on to come from behind and win 26-24. Fort Lee led by as many as 8 in the second set, held on after another valiant comeback attempt by Rutherford, and eventually pulled away to win 25-17. 2-0 start to the third set here for Rutherford. Yurchenko. And there's a ferocious finish by Mackenzie Velis. Again, when she runs underneath anything and sets herself, no one is returning. 3-0 start here for the Bulldogs. They've never led by more than 3 in any set so far today. George serving it just over the top of the net. Sydney Kim got to it. And a point eventually here for Fort Lee, their first point of the third set. Bella Plout will serve for Fort Lee. Came into this match, 1,147 digs. Good serve there, a dangerous one as Rutherford just gets to it. Gomez pops it over. And that shot wide of the mark that time, goes out of bounds. Will be another point here for Fort Lee, pulling the Bridgemen back to within 1. And there's a service ace. That one just kept on tailing. Rutherford trying to range down low, chest on the floor to get up underneath it, but Barna could not get enough of it. 3-3, so both teams trading 3-0 spurts to start off the third set. Now another ace for Bella Plout. It's 4 in a row here for Fort Lee. So they've turned a 3-point deficit into a 1-point lead at 4-3. Winner take all, set 3 here inside East Gymnasium. Rutherford trying to stop the Fort Lee momentum here. And they won't. Another point. That's 5 in a row for the home side. Nella Watanabe, the freshman, who is going to have herself a very successful career here at Fort Lee, scores another point. 5-3 lead. Fort Lee has feasted on their serves throughout this match today. Rutherford trying to get some control back. Deflected off the top of the ceiling. Gomez will get underneath that one, pop it over. Velis. Fort Lee scrambling. Gomez gets it over. Great hustle there by Fort Lee. And Velis that time, the running one-hander, had to deflect off of the side of the hand of Fort Lee out of bounds. That stops the 5-0 run and makes this a 1-point advantage for Fort Lee at 5-4. Davidson had that serve just eat up the Fort Lee back line. Tessa Davidson, 97 service points on the season coming into play today, 22 aces. She was a big reason why they were able to come from behind at the end of set number 1. And again, just serving in that back right corner, back-to-back aces. And Davidson has given Rutherford the lead at 6-5. Gomez. Davidson sliding in to make the stop. And there's another finish. And is that career kill number 1,000 for number 10, Mackenzie Vellis? We had mentioned that she was at 986 kills for her career coming into play today. So a milestone produced here once again at East Gymnasium. We saw a milestone of the 1,000th dig in Bella Plout's career. And now we see Rutherford have a milestone produce themselves, and classy there by Coach John Ziemba of Fort Lee coming over to exchange pleasantries and congratulate Mackenzie Vellis. Had a couple of the family members in the crowd that had some posters ready just in case this happened, and once this match went to a third set, absolutely an opportunity here to celebrate. So Rutherford takes a 7-5 advantage after that Vellis kill. Congratulations to Mackenzie Vellis on her 1,000th career kill. And now Fort Lee trying to rally again, down by 2. 7-5 here in set number 3. So after a brief little pause, I think they took the volleyball out of commission here and gave it to the Vellis family that are in the crowd assembled here at East Gymnasium. Again, a cool moment there, but now after all those pleasantries, Fort Lee's got to refocus and think about they want to win the ultimate match here now. They trail by 2, 7-5. Both teams have gone on little spurts here to begin the third set. Rutherford started a 3-0 lead. And there's Watanabe with her patented, almost a hook shot variety that you see in basketball. She just quickly, with her back to the net, hooks that up and over and catches the defense by surprise. Seen that all year long. 7-6 lead for Rutherford. Plout diving forward to try to save it. Gomez gets it over. Another deflection. Good work there by Sydney Kim. Song gets it over. Again, Rutherford's just going to be aiming for Vellis each and every time, and that time she mishits it and goes too long that time. A point for Fort Lee, and the Bridgemen are level here at 7-7. Service error that time by Samantha Song. Trying to serve it down the near side. Gifting that point back over to Rutherford. 8-7 lead for the visitors. Gomez has that one blocked out of bounds. Good elevation that time by Lorelei. Eight. Set number 3. Watanabe did a nice job of taking something off that, and Davidson trying to dive her way forward, just couldn't get enough of it. Service ace there for Anela Watanabe. 14 aces on the year coming into play, and the volleyball gods giveth and taketh away as she hits it into the top of the net for a service error. Point and serve back over to Rutherford. Kim, blocked to the net, recovers it. Gomez has that again, deflect off of the arm of the defender in front. Gomez playing one of her better matches of the season. Fort Lee went on a run in the second set with Luna Sugahara on service. Here she is now. Can the senior get a little breathing room for her side? They lead 10-9. Again, her low-lining serve is so tough to pick up off of her hand. So it leads to countless number of points, as we've seen throughout the course of the season. 11-9 lead for Fort Lee. Yurchenko. And it deflects. And a point there for Fort Lee. Bridgman with their largest lead of the third set at 3, 12-9. Again, if Fort Lee comes back to win this set, they will win the match. This is the third and final decisive set. Rutherford won the first set, coming from behind 26-24. Fort Lee won 25-17 in the set number 2. Rutherford with low-lining opportunity. Kim trying to take advantage, and she does. Once they have Velis out of rotation and not lurking on the near side, it's a little less dangerous for Fort Lee. And defensively, when they've made their opportunities here, they've been able to go on a run when she's been more in the back line, and now that's where she is right now. Kim in front. Kim again with the finish. Fort Lee pulling away here. All on the service of Luna Sugahara, just like in set number 2, almost in this identical point in the set. That's when Fort Lee built up their lead. Quick turnaround, dump shot there by Rutherford. Exactly what the doctor ordered if you're the visitors. Stop that momentum run. Kind of a quick no-look. 14-10 lead for Fort Lee, set number 3. Kate Finan serving. Serves it into the net for Rutherford. 5-point lead for Fort Lee. They've led by as many as 5 in each of the 3 sets here today. Wong serving it to Velis in the back. Wong, Song, Kim. Ricochets around, and Rutherford can't track it down. 16-10 lead now for Fort Lee. Olivia Kim has taken over in front of the net. Wong that time serves it too long. 16-11. Fort Lee 9 points away from winning this match in a great warm-up for the state playoffs. 2 league champions going toe-to-toe here today. Kim in front again. She has locked herself in a zone ever since that time in the second set where she got flat-footed and tried to fade away and got it blocked back at her. She has been a different player in front of the net for Fort Lee. Coach Ziemba pumping his fist, looking at her as she subs off the floor. That's got to feel great for the senior in confidence. Confidence, such a big part of the name of the game here in volleyball. We've seen that with Lorelai Gomez gaining confidence on the outside as a hitter. And now a 6-point lead for Fort Lee at 17-11. And again, we'd like to thank all of our great sponsors that allow us to bring you the sights and sounds of Fort Lee athletics throughout the entire school year. The Fort Lee PBA, Cavasso's Fairway Market, The Finest Construction, Fort Lee Soccer Club, Roosin and Daru Electric, Bridgman Basketball Camp, the Fort Lee VFW, Visions Federal Credit Union, It's Greek to Me, Connect One Bank, Bergen Black Sox, Senator Builders, UCS Strength and Speed, The Collective Salon, and the Fort Lee Education Association. Dan Long, so glad that he could join us. Finishing up another regular season here for the volleyball season. Fort Lee will be back in action tomorrow here at home against Hackensack. Rutherford will conclude on the road at Waldwick before they start the playoffs. And there's a no-doubter finish once again by Juliet Singh. And Rutherford once again manufacture a rally here late in a set. They almost manufactured another epic one in the second set when they trailed by as many as 8. And that one goes out of bounds. Rutherford, if it just a couple more inches, would have been clearly in, as nobody was positioned there defensively for Fort Lee. It was worth the gamble, but Fort Lee takes advantage, up by 6, 18-12. Plout dug that out. Gomez couldn't get it up and over in time, and eventually it caromed out of bounds. Last touch off of Fort Lee. Here again, lurking in front. In the front left is Mackenzie Vellis. Fort Lee taking advantage when she was in the back line. This is where she looms the largest. And Gomez again mishit it into the net. Back-to-back points for Rutherford, 18-14. Coach Ziemba coaching up his junior. Gomez going with a little more of a soft touch this time. Watanabe, 1 foot jump that time. And answering with 1 foot jump of her own was Mackenzie Vellis. And Rutherford once again not going quietly. They're back to within 3, 18-15. Rutherford looking for a big momentum shift, and they continue to get it. There's Vellis with the spike. And a timeout taken by Coach Ziemba. As again, we've seen so many different momentum shifts throughout the course of this entire match here today. Fort Lee had grown its lead, and always at this juncture in a match, we have seen in the first set, in the second set, and now here again in the third set, Rutherford showing why they are so good. 18-5 on the season, 13-0 in league play. They don't just give up and roll over. They have always had a response when they've really had their backs against the wall. We've seen this, like you said, back in the first set when Fort Lee had a 5-point advantage. We're only a couple of points away from capturing the opening set. Rutherford went on a run. They kind of lock in. They get in the zone. Rutherford got to this point in the second set, too, at 18-16, and then Fort Lee had the response and pulled away late. We're going to have to try to do that again here. With Tessa Davidson serving. In that back left corner, Fort Lee has found success all afternoon there. Davidson able to track it down in time. Deflected in front. Gomez. Up and over, 2 defenders trying to block. Plout ranges down low. Gomez flips it up and over. And again, you can't afford the player the likes of Vellis that many opportunities time and time again when they set her up on the wing. She is finding pay dirt. And it's now down to a 1-point lead, 18-17. Davidson has been dynamic as a server here in this match. As soon as I say that, broadcaster Jinx, she serves it long for a point here for Fort Lee, 19-17. Samantha Song. Again, Fort Lee has been at its best when it's been able to serve and get on a run. Gomez. Watanabe blocked at the net. Gomez. And it's going to be a point awarded to Fort Lee. A big point there for the Bridgemen. 5 points away, 20-17. And another kill by Velis. Just reached, again, a career milestone earlier in this third set. 1,000th kill of her career. She's well over 1,000 now. Rutherford down by 2, 20-18. Deflected in front, saved by Finan. Fadeaway attempts. Gomez trying to say that it was deflected, and the official up top agrees, says there was the deflection off the fingertips. All of the Fort Lee players immediately said that there was a piece that had gotten on that ball after it was looking like it was clearly hit out of bounds and too long. 21-18 lead for Fort Lee and the service for the Bridgemen. And perfect placement again. Fort Lee took the gamble and laid off that one. It was in front of the back line as Mackenzie Velis is doing everything herself to try to keep her team in this match. And now it will land on her to serve. Gomez. What a big response there by Gomez. It's been a roller coaster ride for her of sorts. Sometimes mishits, and now a big time hit there. As Gomez, with a little bit of the same action that Rutherford's been giving to Fort Lee. And now Sugahara will serve. Most effective server so far in this match for Fort Lee. Deflected a little bit before it got to that back line as Velis tracked it down. Fort Lee diving play, but it went out of bounds to the far side. Point for Rutherford, 22-20. Velis is in the back line now, not dangerously on the edge. Blount lays off it. Coach Ziemba barking it out for a good measure to make sure that his players did not go for it. Service error, 23-20. Fort Lee 2 points away from capturing a hard-earned match. Wong serving this one. Plout digs out the offering from George. Kim, dug out by Davison. And that one deflected and falls in for another point by Mackenzie Velis, this time from the back line. Again, she is refusing to have her team lose here today, 23-21. Now Barna will serve. Kim. What a finish there by Olivia Kim. 24-21. She's become unstoppable in front as she comes off celebrating with her teammates. Coach Ziemba even turning around, kind of like, what's gotten into her? She's unstoppable. The senior has put her team at match point here, 24-21. Plout setting it up. Wong. Off to Song. Song gets it, and Fort Lee comes from behind to win this match against Rutherford. 2-1. As Fort Lee wins the final set 25-21 after losing the opening set 26-24. What a big result here for Fort Lee today. And is this actually My correction, is this going to be a match that they've decided to play to the best of 5 sets rather than the normal best of 3? The teams are not exchanging handshakes right now. So this has just been instructed to us that this is a best of 5. You have the option in New Jersey high school volleyball if you want to play to a best of 5. Normally it's a best of 3 format for New Jersey high school volleyball. You only play your maximum of 3 sets. So it looks like with both teams staying on the floors here, we might be here for a while, fans. Best of 5 is the normal format in college volleyball. So we are going to be getting set for another set here and a chance for Fort Lee to win the match if they win this set. So when you have an opportunity like this and it's non-conference and an opportunity to test yourself against another team just before the start of the playoffs, you can see why some teams decide to change the normal format of a best of 3 and play at most 3 sets. Other states, they play to a best of 5, and like I said, at the collegiate level, they always play best of 5 sets. So if you're just joining us, Rutherford rallied from behind to begin set number 1 and eventually eked down a 26-24 win. Fort Lee then was in control for that second set, won 25-17. And most recently, in the third set, just took control and held on late after a furious Rutherford comeback and went on to win 25-21. So now Rutherford has to win this set to then force a final 5th set. And this was something, as you can imagine, not told to us here with the broadcast table, that they were going to be playing a best of 5 here today. So apologies for all those Fort Lee fans celebrating, thinking that this was a 2-1 win. Still work to be done here as Bella Plout will serve for Fort Lee to begin the 4th set. And in front, Watanabe got the points at the net. 1-0 lead for the Bridgemen. What we do know is if Fort Lee wins here, they will win the match. Unless there's some new format that they're trying out today. And that one is in on the far side for Rutherford to tie it up at 1-1. Mia George will serve. George had 7 digs in their last match, a win against Eastern Christian. Last time that Rutherford played in a best-of-5 format was in counties. Lost in 3 sets to Northern Highlands. Highlands might be the 1 seed in Fort Lee's state playoff section. And that's going to be a point for Rutherford. A couple of the Bridgemen were trying to say there was a deflection in front. 2-1 lead for the Bulldogs. Gomez had that one. Lip off the top of the net. And a block right in front there by Rutherford. They've battled back a couple times now. 3 in a row for the Bulldogs to take a 3-1 advantage. A lot of times we've seen that in the early courses of these sets so far today. Rutherford has had the success in the beginning. Fort Lee has dominated the middle. And Rutherford has fought back valiantly near the end. 4 in a row now for Rutherford. They lead 4-1. All off the service of George, and that's going to be another point here for the visitors, who lead 5-1. Rutherford wins this. They will force a 5th set here at East Gymnasium. Fort Lee last played in a best-of-5 on the 25th, and they beat New Milford of the NJIC 3-0. All Rutherford here in the early goings of the 4th set. 6-1 lead for Rutherford. A 6-0 run. Fort Lee has to collect themselves here and get back in their groove. Largest lead of any set for Rutherford here this afternoon. Bulldogs tracking it down. And Fort Lee just not having the answers right now. It's quickly a 7-1 lead. 6-point deficit for the Bridgemen. And there's a service ace in the back right corner. Coach Siemba will call for the timeout. All Rutherford here with their backs against the wall. Having dropped the last 2 consecutive sets, they're in command here 8-1 in set number 4. Perfect response here for Rutherford after losing that 3rd set. They have come out on fire to begin this 4th set. Finally a point here for Fort Lee, stops the bleeding. It was an 8-0 run for Rutherford, their largest run of this match. Now an 8-2 advantage over Fort Lee. Fort Lee wins this set. They win the match. Rutherford wins. They will force a 5th set. And that's deflected in front, and another point for Rutherford. Again, this is the option that the coaches have near the end of the regular season to get some experience, get some extra reps. Normally, again, you played just the 3 sets. This would have been over. This is certainly benefiting Rutherford right now with having this extra volleyball. Gomez. Vellis again bringing the heat every time. They try to set her up to the near side. Didn't get all of it that time. Gomez got all of it herself. She secures the point. (9-3). The deficit facing Fort Lee as they take a quick look at the scoreboard. Watanabe serving. Rutherford finally getting it over with Vellis. Long directly into the net. Point for Rutherford, 10-3. Kim blocked in the net. Gomez. Nice finish there on the outside. Again, if you can get Lorelai Gomez and Olivia Kim confident in playing as factors in the front, this changes everything for Fort Lee heading into the postseason. Beautiful low-lining serve that time by senior Sydney Kim. 10 aces on the season coming into today's action. Adds to the total there. No one even got a piece of it. And Velos has that blocked out of bounds to the side off of Kim. Olivia Kim, that is. The points again for Rutherford and Velos. 11-5 lead for Rutherford. Need to win here for the Bulldogs to force a fifth set. Extended play here today. Fort Lee unable to track it down. Rutherford playing their best set of the afternoon here in the fourth. 12-5 advantage. Plout. Song. Kim blocked in the net. Rutherford has made the adjustments in front to go against Olivia Kim after she was feasting in the second and third sets. Kim had that trickle all the way to the back to Velos. Wong deflected and somehow came all the way back and right in front of Coach Ziemba, who all he could do was smile there as he knew that was a fortuitous carom that looked like it was assuredly going out of bounds. That ball had highs, and it's 14-5 lead for Rutherford. Bulldogs in cruise control here in this fourth set. Song trying to set up Wong behind. Davidson saving it for Rutherford. Ricocheted off the top of the net. Pagan tries to get to it. And a double hit. Point over now here for Rutherford. They extend their lead now to a 10-point margin. Largest for either team here today. Rutherford gets it over. O gets the point. Margaret O coming back into the match on that outside hitter position. Fort Lee's got to go on a run here. They want to make this interesting in the fourth set. Quick dump move there by Wong. Wong setting it up for Song behind her. Kind of backpedaling and still getting a piece of it was Velos on defense. At the net, it's going to be a point here for Rutherford. 16-6. That time again took a weird and funny bounce on the top of the ceiling, and then little lack of communication there between a couple of the Fort Lee players as it falls in between a host of Bridgmen. Fort Lee not on their game, not as sharp here after winning that real close third set. It's been all Rutherford. 17-7. It's almost like Fort Lee was feeling like me that they were just so used to, okay, that was the third and final set. There we go, we won an exciting match. Only to kind of realize, wait a second. This is a marathon five-setter, as it looks like it's going to be going to a fifth and final set. And in the fifth set, I believe it's the first of 15. As that one is spiked home, Sugihara could not get to it and cleanly return it. Rutherford flexing here in the fourth set, not fooling around at all. Sonia Yurchenko coming in. Rutherford serving with an 18-7 lead. And there's another point. What a finish. Again by Singh. Rutherford lost a pair of matches against Riverdale and Northern Highlands in the counties. They've been dominant in the NJIC this year. So 2 of their 5 losses this season coming when it was tournament time. Their other losses, they lost twice to Bogota this season. As Fort Lee gets the point, makes it a 10-point lead for Rutherford. Also lost to Sea Caucus, who right now would be the number 1 seed in their section in North 2 Group 1. And again, Singh with the points. This is almost like a type of set you just want to flush it if you're Fort Lee. Rutherford played much more with a sense of urgency with their back against the wall here. Set number 4. Now you just hope if you're Coach Ziemba and you're Fort Lee and you get that chance to get to the 5th set with everything on the line then. With the 0-0 on the scoreboard, that's going to give you a fresh set. Deflection, and Velis doesn't need any help. Gets another kill. 21-10. Rutherford 4 points away. And taking their second set of this match. They won the opening set 26-24. Fordley gets it over for the point. Watanabe with the low-lining serve. Velis with the finish down the near side. 22-11. She is incredible. Service error. Point over for the Bridgmen. as that curls around and falls. And Rutherford 2 points away. And both teams won their league titles this season. Fort Lee clinched the Big North American Division for the 5th time in the last 6 seasons. Rutherford, the chance to go undefeated in league play in their season finale against Waldwick. They're 13-0 in the NJIC Meadowlands. Too long there, and Rutherford now at set point at 24-12. A point there for Fort Lee. As Rutherford has that skim back. Fort Lee too long, and it's a 25-13 win in the 4th set for Rutherford. Not really competitive set there for Fort Lee. I just wonder if it's kind of like what we here were all surprised too after that 3rd set was done, that, hey, why aren't we going home? This feels like an emotional victory in 3 sets for Fort Lee. It's such foreign territory that I think Fort Lee just didn't have that mindset that they needed. And Rutherford had the mindset and some. A really non-competitive 4th set, 25-13. Rutherford coasting to that victory, and now that'll bring us to a 5th and final set. And I believe it is the first of 15 in set number 5 if we're playing by the same college rules. Again, this is the luxury that is afforded to coaches. Near the end of the season, we saw the best of 5 being a factor in the counties. Fort Lee had that in the counties against Pascack Hills and Paramus. When they just played another NJIC opponent in New Milford, they played to a best of 5 and won all 3 sets. The first 3 sets, so now this one going the distance of 5-set opportunity here at East Gymnasium. So if you love volleyball, you're getting your money's worth here today. Dan Long, so glad that he could join us on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. If you're just joining us, Rutherford came from behind when it looked like Fort Lee was on its way to winning the opening set. They were at set point, 24-23. Rutherford rallied and eventually won 26-24. Fort Lee would bounce back to win 25-17 in the 2nd set. And then a back-and-forth affair in the 3rd set ended up with a 25-21 Fort Lee victory in set number 3. Set number 4, well, if you're Fort Lee, not much to dwell on there. 25-13, Rutherford rolled their way to a win, and here we are in what I hope and pray will be the final set here today. This is the 5th and last set of this matchup. Again, cross-conference matchup, Big North versus the NJIC to get teams ready for a postseason run. Second to last home match of the year for Fort Lee, trying to win for the 11th time here at home this year and get their 15th win of the season. Rutherford trying to come here on the road and pick up their 9th win away from home and their 19th win of the season. Rutherford will serve to start off the 5th set. Oh, shot finds its way into the back corner. And there's the accuracy on display by number 4, senior Margaret O. Accuracy, the name of the game for Fort Lee through their first 3 sets of the game, of this match, I should say. Bella Plout will serve with Fort Lee up 1-0. And Bellis, that time a rare miss hit for her. Shot it long and wide. 2-0, the lead now for Fort Lee. Miss hit into the net, so Rutherford committing some mistakes that they did not commit at all in that fourth set. Fort Lee jumping out in front here in the fifth set, 3-0. So they have flushed the memory of the fourth set immediately. Deflected, and Fort Lee can't track it down as it hits into the bottom of the basketball backboard. Position on top of the ceiling here. 3-1 lead for Fort Lee, and now Tessa Davidson, one of the better servers here for Rutherford, doing the honors. Deflected in front of the net. Couple of block attempts there by Rutherford. And Fort Lee unable to cleanly get to it as Sarah Wong tried to pop it over herself diagonally to the far side, and no other teammate was there. 3-2. The lead for Fort Lee, which was 3, trimmed down to 1. Good move there by Fort Lee in front. Watanabe approached the net and then sliced it to the far side. Coach Siemba pointing to his head saying, such a high IQ play. Song serving with their team up by 2 now, 4-2. And again slicing that one, Watanabe. She did it to the right, now does it to the left. Fort Lee grows his lead once again up to 3 at 5-2. Samantha Song about to serve, but a timeout's going to be taken. That'll stop things just before she can get going. A 5-2 lead right now here for Fort Lee in a fifth and final set. A special extra edition of volleyball action here at Fort Lee. And again, we'd like to thank our proud sponsors who, because of this fifth set marathon, get another plug, rightfully so. Fort Lee PBA, Cafaso's Fairway Market, The Finest Construction, Fort Lee Soccer Club, Rusin and Daru Electric, Bridgman Basketball Camp, the Fort Lee VFW, Visions Federal Credit Union, It's Greek to Me, Connect One Bank, Bergen Black Sox, Senator Builders, UCS Strength and Speed, the Collective Salon, and the Fort Lee Education Association. 5-2 lead for Fort Lee here in the fifth set. There's a block at the net for Fort Lee. Vellis still fires it over, a couple of action in front, and eventually the point taken in by Rutherford. Rutherford, the much taller side compared to Fort Lee. But Fort Lee has done a nice job defensively of scrambling here at times. Bulldogs trail by 2, 5-3. And Gomez drifted more out of bounds to the far side. Couldn't get it cleanly over. Point for Rutherford. Back to within 1, 5-4. And that shot is out of bounds. Again, Rutherford trying to catch Fort Lee by surprise and serve it off to the near side, where no defender was lurking, but it went wide of the mark. 6-4 lead for Fort Lee. Again, because of this rarefied territory in New Jersey volleyball, I believe they play to a 15 in the fifth set, not to 25. Song dug low there. Gomez had to deflect off of a couple of Bulldogs in front. Rutherford unable to return it. 7-4 lead for Fort Lee. Each team has won 2 sets apiece here today. Watanabe serving it. Bellis getting it over. What a match here today. And curled and lipped up and backwards. Gomez trying to tomahawk that one down. Didn't jump. 7-5 lead. Rutherford trails by 2. Can they go on a run here with Velis serving? Gomez just pops it over. And a missed jump that time by Rutherford. 8-5 lead for Fort Lee. O comes in for Plout. Luna Sugahara has been the secret weapon here for Fort Lee with her service here today. George got a little break that time, skimmed it off the top of the net, fell in between the front and back lines. Rutherford with the point. Trail by 2, 8-6. Sugahara comes off. So does Gomez. 8-6 lead for Fort Lee in the 5th set. Oh, as that one almost got stuck on the top of the net. Time stopped. Fort Lee with a couple of players almost colliding together. George pops it forward. Plout got to it. Set up for Wong, but Wong again into the middle of the net. Fort Lee a couple times now with the lead here in the 5th set. I've had mistimed jumps come back to burn them. Fort Lee trying to track it down. And the Bridgemen unable to do so. So an ace there for Rutherford, and the Bulldogs, who trailed by 3, have tied it up 8-8. They've gone on a run, as they've done throughout the course of every set here today. This being done by Mia Augustin, number 20. Yurchenko in. Now Rutherford with a chance to take the lead here in the 5th set. One-handed stop there by Watanabe. Kim in front, gets it blocked backwards. A big block secured by Juliet Singh, and Rutherford with momentum. They lead 9-8. The ebbs and flows of this one. Rutherford trying to win in the final 2 sets of this match to come back to win the match after Fort Lee had taken 2 out of the first 3 sets. Kim this time. Got the point because it was a deflection. As the official on the ladder quickly pointed that that was tipped. Even if it was shot long and wasn't in play, it was a deflection and a point for Fort Lee. 9-9 as Sarah Wong will serve. Wong wide of the mark on the far left side. She was trying to serve it. 10-9 lead for Rutherford. And a timeout taken by John Ziemba and Fort Lee as he wants to talk things over with his side. They've had their opportunities to really wrestle control here in this match. Certainly after they won the 3rd set, we're up 2-1. Didn't really seem all that interested or competitive in set number 4. That is why Rutherford coasted to a 25-13 win. They jumped out to an early 3-0 lead here. They've led by as many as 3 on a pair of occasions. But they've just not been able to have that consistency to their game that we've seen at points in the 2nd and 3rd sets. Rutherford in front 10-9. Believe 5 points away from taking the match. I also thought it was going to be just the simple best of 3 here today. Wong got to it, but Song couldn't track it down in front. Now Rutherford, their largest lead at 11-9. And another timeout taken by Fort Lee, as Rutherford has its largest lead of set number 5 at 11-9. Again, Rutherford will be competing in the North 2 Group 1 playoffs. Secaucus, Verona, Bogota, McNair, the top 4 and PowerPoint seeds. Rutherford would be behind them at number 5. That would assure them at least one home match. Fort Lee projected to be at a number 11 seed if the playoffs started today. They would send them on the road in North 1 Group 3. Yurchenko has that deflect, one-handed save, but they said that it's a point nonetheless for Fort Lee. Bit of a carry underneath, they're saying, against Velis. So she cupped it. Bridgman trailed by 1, 11-10. Need to go on a run here. Yurchenko tracked it down. I don't know if that was going out of bounds. Fort Lee able to score the winner anyway. That's what Coach Diemba was just saying to Sonia. Be aware of your surroundings. Looked like he was destined to be out of bounds on the far side, and she tracked it down. Her teammate got the point anyway. 11-11. And that is mishit into the net by Rutherford, and Fort Lee is taking the lead at 12-11. Sydney Kim will serve for the Bridgman. Double block in front, and Fort Lee, now with momentum on its side, have elicited a timeout taken by Rutherford. 13-11 lead for Fort Lee. 2 points away from coming from behind here in the 5th set. Again, this is a special volleyball match here today. Normally in New Jersey, in girls volleyball, also in the spring in boys volleyball, outside of some county tournaments, it's a best-of-3 format. First one to win 2 sets. But in this situation, it is a best-of-5 here today. As both teams trying to test themselves, gain a couple more reps, and get ready for the state playoffs that are looming. That'll be coming up next week. Sydney Kim and Fort Lee in position here. Up by 2. Late in the 5th set, 13-11. Kim with the long serve. Plout gets to it. Wong setting up Song, and that time it's going to be a point for Fort Lee. I know I've said this earlier, but I believe Fort Lee now is at match point. We thought this was the case normally in the 3rd set. Here we are in the 5th set, 14-11, Fort Lee in front. Fort Lee with a chance here to finish it off. Yurchenko. Velis tracks it down to the back. They get it back to her. Plout did enough to save it. Rutherford trying to say that was clearly on the floor. The official on the floor was saying that it was kept off. And it's going to be a redo. I think Fort Lee might have gotten away with one in there. Song getting it. Watanabe gets it over. Rutherford in a chance here to try to extend the match. Right now it's 14-12, so they did count it as a point. But now it's deflected out of bounds, 14-13. So they did award the point there. 14-13. Rutherford trying to stay alive again. Yurchenko, too long. 14-14. The Bridgemen were up 14-11 at match point and serving. Rutherford has rattled off 3 in a row here when it matters the most. Plout, Song, Watanabe. Perfect decision and placement. Everyone had vacated the near wing for Rutherford. And once again, Fort Lee is at match point. 15-14. Have to win by at least 2. Plout to the left side. Deflected, and another point for Rutherford as they stay alive. Of course, in a 5-setter, we have to continue to go over and over here. 15 not going to be enough to win the match. Davidson. Gomez. Now Rutherford with a chance to take the lead. Fort Lee unable to control it. Now Rutherford at match point. This could be eerily similar to how the first set ended when Fort Lee had it at set point, but Rutherford dug deep and found a way to come back to win. And they did it. A service ace there at the end. And Rutherford will win this marathon in 5 sets. And in the 5th set, they win by a final score of 17-15. What an extraordinary matchup here between these two teams. Best of luck to each of them in the postseason. With the defeat, Fort Lee will fall to 14-11 on the season. With a win, Rutherford will improve to 19-5 overall. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this longer-than-expected edition of Fort Lee Bridgeman Volleyball. For everybody here from East Gymnasium, I'm Dan Long saying so long and thanks for watching here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel.